This is Dr. Bev Knox, and you are listening to my psychology tutorials. Learn psychology while you sleep. Child development. What do we mean when we speak of an individual's development? Development is the pattern of change that begins at conception and continues through the lifespan. Historical views of childhood. Childhood probably was recognized as a distinct phase of life. Throughout history, philosophers have speculated at length about the nature of children and how they should be reared. The modern era of studying children began with some important developments in the late 1800s. Since then, the study of child development has evolved into a sophisticated science with major theories as well as elegant techniques and methods of studying and helping organize our thinking about children's development. Later, during the 1920s, many child development research centers were created and their professional staffs began to observe and chart the myriad of behaviors in infants and children. Research centers at the universities of Minnesota, Iowa, California at Berkeley, Columbia, and Toronto became famous for their investigations of children's play. The flow of information about children based on direct study has only increased since that time. The pattern of human development is created by the interplay of three key processes. They are biological, cognitive, and socio-emotional in nature. Biological processes produce changes in an individual's body. Genes inherited from parents, the development of the brain, height and weight gains, development of motor skills, and the hormonal changes of puberty all reflect the role of biological processes in development. Cognitive processes refer to changes in an individual's thought, intelligence, and language. The task of watching a mobile swinging above a crib, putting together a two-word sentence, memorizing a poem, solving a math problem, and imagining what it would be like to be a movie star all involves cognitive processes. An infant's smile in response to her mother's touch, a child's attack on a playmate, another's development of assertiveness, and an adolescent's joy at the senior prom all reflect socio-emotional development. Biological, cognitive, and socio-emotional processes are definitely intertwined. Consider a baby smiling in response to a parent's touch. This response depends on biological processes, the physical nature of touch, cognitive processes, the ability to understand intentional acts, and socio-emotional processes. The act of smiling often reflects a positive emotional feeling. Nowhere is the connection across biological, cognitive, and socio-emotional processes more obvious than in its two rapidly emerging fields. These fields are developmental cognitive neuroscience and developmental social neuroscience. Developmental cognitive neuroscience, which explores links between development, cognitive processes, and the brain. Developmental social neuroscience examines connections between development, socio-emotional process, and the brain. For purposes of organization and understanding, a child's development is commonly described in terms of periods and correspond to appropriate age ranges. The most widely used classification of development includes a child's developmental in terms of the following sequence: the prenatal period, infancy, early childhood, middle and late childhood, and adolescence. The prenatal period is the time from conception to birth, roughly a 9-month period. During this amazing time, a single cell grows into an organism, complete with a brain and behavioral capacities. Infancy is the developmental period that extends from birth to about 18 to 24 months of age. Infancy is the time of extreme dependence on adults. Many psychological activities are just beginning. The abilities to speak, to coordinate sensations and physical actions, to think with symbols, and to imitate and learn from others. Early childhood is the developmental period that extends from the end of infancy to about 5 or 6 years of age. Sometimes this period is called the preschool years. During this time, young children learn to become more self-sufficient and to care for themselves. They develop school readiness skills, following instructions and identifying letters, and they spend many hours in play with peers. First grade typically marks the end of this period. Middle and late adulthood is the developmental period that extends between about 6 and 11 years of age. Sometimes this period is referred to as the elementary school years. Children master the fundamental skills of reading, writing, and arithmetic. They also are formally exposed to the larger world and its culture. Achievement becomes a more central theme of the child's world, and self-control increases. Adolescence is the developmental period of transition from childhood to early adulthood, entering at approximately 10 to 12 years of age and ending about 18 to 19 years of age. Adolescence begins the rapid physical changes, dramatic gains in height and weight, also changes in body contour, and the development of sexual characteristics. The pursuit of independence and an identity are prominent features of this period of development. More and more time is spent outside the family. Thought becomes more abstract, idealist, and logical. Today, developmentists do not believe that change ends with adolescence. They describe development as a lifelong process. However, the purpose of studying child development is to describe the changes in development that take place from conception through adolescence. All of these periods of development are produced by the interplay of biological, cognitive, and socio-emotional processes.